Hi, okay, so today I'm going to be talking about obsessive thinking and um, particular obsessive thoughts I had during depersonalization and the depression aspect of it. Um, because I'm pretty sure that everybody who goes through depersonalization has a period where they're very depressed, maybe suicidal thoughts, um, feelings of hopelessness, worthlessness, um, due to the loss of or feeling of your loss of an identity, um, just all sorts of things. Okay, so I'm going to start with the obsessive thinking. While I was in a DP state of mind, um, my obsessive thinking was crazy. Um, that was the worst thing that I had to deal with. And all it was anxiety, just very heightened. But I would obsess about the craziest things. I would obsess about why trees were the way they were, um, why why we exist, just all sorts of religious questions, very very much questions just about our existence. Um, and then along with that, I would obsess about. I think I've said it before in my past videos about like the line of vision, like my nose, like you can't get your nose out of like your vision, like you're always gonna see it a little bit. And I remember at one point I obsessed about that, and it really like ticked me off that my nose was right there. It's just weird thinking about that now, but at that time it was desperation. I obsessed about the feeling of like I was out of my body. I obsessed about this feeling like I wanted to crawl out of my skin and just yank out and like set free. I obsessed about this feeling of just wanting a break. Just wishing that my heart would just stop, even though it can't, because I would die. I just wanted my heart to stop because I felt like it was working too hard. It was just crazy, crazy obsessive thinking. I would obsess about the way things looked. Constantly like reevaluate my depersonalization. Um, research. Like spent I don't even know like how much of the day. Probably about 90% of the day was spent on my phone researching, and you can't do that now. To the good part, the part that really helped with my obsessive thinking. Um, okay, so I had been seeing a therapist. Um, I forgot exactly what it was. Maybe psychodynamic therapist, something like that, along the lines of that. Um, and I decided, hey, like I don't know if this is working. This is just causing me to think about all this stuff. I'm not saying that type of therapy won't work. Um, it has worked for many people, even depersonalized people. Um, but that just wasn't for me. And I did admit, like, there's nothing wrong with admitting that you need help, because there's just nothing wrong with it. If you're watching this video, I mean, you're obviously looking for help, and that's what I'm here for. But also remember, I'm not a professional. And these guys, they know what they're talking about, and they've been doing this a long time. And so I decided to switch therapists, and I went to a cognitive behavioral therapist, and he was great. That approach pretty much took out my obsessive thinking. Now I can't really explain in detail on one video, but I will make a future video of cognitive behavioral approach to depersonalization. It's probably going to be very long, But this is just going to touch on the obsessive part. We are very much in control of how we think. When you're depersonalized, you feel like you aren't, but you actually are. During this time, I remember before I went to therapy, I would test myself. I'd have the compulsion aspect. I would look at the desk. I felt like somebody else was controlling my body, so I'd look at the desk and I'd put the thought in my head, go touch that desk, and so I'd get up and go touch it, and it just made me feel safe and I guess cope. And the thing is, when you have obsessive tendencies like that, to where you have to do something to fulfill them, to prove something, to make yourself feel less anxious, you cannot do it. You have to resist, and it's going to bring your anxiety up skyrocketed at first. But after that, the anxiety and the obsessive thoughts start to kind of go away. Now, the first step of my cognitive behavioral approach for obsessive thinking began with completely stop researching. And before I even did this, my now ex-girlfriend, she had locked my phone and the Safari on it, and I still had my computer, but honestly I was still I was on my phone most of the time. And when she took that away from me, I literally felt like I had no idea how to live again. That's how much I was spending on my phone, researching. So the first step is to stop researching and completely. And the way I did that is I had my mom, or if you have somebody, this helps a lot, take away my computer, lock my Safari on my phone. If you have an iPhone, you can do that. You can get somebody close to you to do it, and only they know the code to unlock the Safari app. And I just did everything that could take away my obsession with researching about depersonalization disorder, schizophrenia, all that garbage, all my anxiety questions. And that was the first step. The next step was that I realized that these obsessive things were very, 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 I don't know how to put it, because when my therapist was trying to drill this in my head, it didn't seem to help at the time, but they're very irrational. Very irrational. You're in a very irrational state of mind, and you're still in control of your mind, so you can change the irrational thinking aspect. And so the third step is to change it, and the way to change it is to really realize, listen to me when I say this right now, there is absolutely nothing wrong with you. You are in a state of fear so intense that it has caused you to become depersonalized. That's all it is. You don't have a brain tumor. There isn't anything going on inside you that's causing you to feel this way. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you. And sure, psychiatrists and stuff, and it may even be true, you may have low serotonin levels, low dopamine, whatever, very high dopamine, but you have put yourself in this state due to your obsessive tendencies. That's why some people are in this longer than others. You have constantly reevaluated how you feel every single day, every single second, 24 hours a day. You don't give your mind a break from this. Some people And this is not due to me assuming. I have a couple of people in my life that have gone through exactly what I went through. And I'm very fortunate for that. And I've talked to them. And one of those people, they were in this like 3 years, I think. They actually had forgotten how depersonalization felt, but still felt as if they were depersonalized. And stay with me for a second. They had questioned reality so much that their perception of reality actually seemed different, whenever in all actuality, and it wasn't. It was the same life that you've always lived. And you were still viewing it the same. You were just the difference. You were very obsessive, and this person was very analytical. Now, I'm not saying that everybody is like that, but I'm saying there are some people who have this idea that they are depersonalized and they obsess about it, when in all reality they very well might not be. This was not me. So if I hope I'm not coming off as like a know-it-all. I don't know. I'm just not trying to come off as like I know exactly what I'm talking about, because this was not me. This is just based off of somebody that I know. So that very well might be you, and I'm not saying it could be, but this is just my opinion. People who have it longer tend to have it longer. This might be them. I'm not saying it is, I'm saying it might, because you might have very well been exactly how I was the entire 10 years. Who knows? Regardless, it is still very, very upsetting that people have to go through this, and I pray for these people every day. And regardless, it is all the same thing. But you all can get out of it. You can. And so you just have to change those thoughts and realize they're very rational, and realize that you can be in control, and you are in control of your thoughts. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. Absolutely nothing. You have anxiety. And that's it. That is completely it. Okay. Now, I know this video is very long, and my videos tend to be a little long. I'm going to start trying to make them a little shorter, but we'll see. On to the depressive part. Suicide is not an option. Suicide is not an option. We've all been there. So depersonalized people, you get so low sometimes, and you think you're never going to get out. You think your life is over. You think you're never going to get help. You think nobody understands you. You try to explain it to people, they say they never heard of it before. You try to explain it to even doctors, they say they never heard of it before. They tell you it's just anxiety that makes you mad. You feel crazy. You get where I'm going. Your anxiety is causing your depression. It is. My depression came from a very, very funny, not funny, but weird way. I've had emails about this topic actually. I never wanted to kill myself, ever. But I felt so out of it and like I was losing my mind that I was literally terrified to death, scared to death that I was going to hurt myself and kill myself or kill somebody else or hurt somebody else. And this drove me into a deep depression because I was so terrified that I was going to do that. And again, that goes with my obsessive things. I couldn't even get around nice. It was just crazy. But I'm here to tell you, as hopeless as that feels, you have to keep pushing. During that time, I wrote notes to myself when I had little moments of motivation and little moments of I want to get better and I'm just going to put my foot on the ground and just walk out of this. When I had those moments, I wrote down everything I was thinking and feeling and that motivation. And then when I got so down again, I'd look at my notes and I'd remember that moment that I had and know that if I'm having little moments like that, eventually they're going to become more and more. Suicide is not an option. Too many people care about you and love you. I may not know you, but if you're watching this video, I truly care about you, and I want you to get better. I truly do. I pray for everybody that watches these videos. It's not an option. Depression is miserable, yes. It can't hurt you. You may feel terrible, you may feel hopeless. You will get out of it. You just have to remind yourself that everything is okay. And if you're religious, pray and pray and pray. And that was the time that I got close to God. You will get out of this. Depersonalization is nothing compared to how strong you are. And these are the kind of things you just have to remind yourself. I'm strong. This video is 18 minutes long. I hope I talked enough about the depression aspect. But God bless all of you. And I just want to let you all know that I say this every time because it's so true. You will get out of this. You will be so much stronger when you're out. And you will have a great life. And you already do have a great life. So precious and so much worth everything. But remember, you can't truly appreciate life unless if you've been humbled. Think of this as a humbling experience. Alright, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, continue to email me. I'm becoming less busy during as Christmas break is coming up, but these next 2 weeks I may not reply to anything because of finals are coming up. So, God bless you all.